lot of stuff going on. This is going to be one of my last videos for let people know that actually watch me to know about that. But today I'm going to be talking about For Honor, and the real it's about this game. So everyone has an equal chance at winning the game, or equal chance of winning a match, whatever. I haven't played it yet, plan on it, but I'm here to talk about like the logistics of it. Who would win in a real fight? Vikings, Knights, or Samurai? So, let's start with the Vikings. Vikings are... How do I put this? There's a lot to talk about with Vikings. A lot to talk about with all of them. Well, first off, one of the main things you need to know about Vikings is they are masters of guerrilla warfare. They're one of the first people, one of the first cultures that really used it the most. Despite what people think, that they're usually like mostly wearing skin, not much armor, stuff like that. Even the armor they did have was usually good enough to protect against most slashes from a sword or somewhat from an arrow. And speaking of arrows, which is a lot of them carry a shield, either it be like a regular little circular shield or a big tall one. I know a lot of people are thinking, oh no way, ain't no way Vikings held those. And well, yeah, they did. Despite what you see on TV and in video games, if you go into the actual stuff, they actually did use those. Vikings also had a very wide range of weaponry. They had their axes, they had their swords, they had their bows, they had daggers, they had spears. Yeah, they had spears, yeah. Surprise! Very mobile. They don't wear too much, they don't wear real hell. So once again, I like guerrilla warfare and stuff like that. But Vikings are also very ruthless. Once they get into a fight, they don't give up till they die. They don't beg for mercy. Ever. They're one of the most ruthless people ever. One of those ruthless cultures. They also had these guys called berserkers. A lot of people ought to know what that is. Even if you don't, let me put it in simple words. They go crazy. And when they go crazy, they black out. They feel no pain whatsoever. They can get stabbed, cut, shot, and they'll just keep going until their body literally just collapses. If there's something to give, they'll give it. Sorry about my commentary. This is a bit weird. It's been a while. I'm in the middle of moving, so my room is a bit weird. I lost my mic. I don't know how this will sound compared to my other ones. But also I'm kind of thirsty. It's early in the morning. It's like 12. At school here in a little while. But I just wanted to get this video out there. So yeah, Vikings, guerrilla warfare, berserkers, stuff like that. Helmets. They didn't have horn helmets. They didn't. A lot of them were usually made out of leather. Or some of them we were made out of like, what was it called? It's some kind of hardened wood almost. I don't remember what it was. But they usually had like leather, cloth, or like hardened material for, or even had metal helmets as well. A lot of people think, well, they didn't have very good gear because they're Vikings, they're poor. They pillaged villages and some kingdoms. Okay, pillage. Think here for a second. They ransacked it. Ransack means they searched it, and they took what they needed. That means weapons, armor. That means some of the Vikings did have heavy armor, and those ones were usually the ones on the front lines, or the berserkers. Now, a lot of you are probably going to say I favored the Vikings. Well, that's true, but that's not the point of this video. This video is compare them all and see who would actually win in my mind. And I don't know who would win until I actually go through everything. So, the reason I'm kind of rooting for the Vikings is because I'm a descendant of a very important one. One of the berserkers that was in Ireland. So, history fact about that. That berserker was actually one of the ones that helped take over half of Ireland for who knows how long, I forget. But yeah. So, Vikings, once again, they pillaged villages, so they got a lot of good gear. And they would keep that gear. They would also make their own gear and keep it sharp as possible. And they also had good boats. They had, believe it or not, Vikings were like very devoted to their cause. If one defected, they would literally kill themselves before turning into the other side or whatever. They would just kill themselves. If they defected, they would just like live like in a little cabin somewhere in the woods. They wouldn't do all that stuff. And if someone asked if like a Viking came up, Vikings are also very, very sturdy. They weren't really how do I say this? They weren't made out of paper. They're like brick. They're like solid brick people. See, I don't really know what else to say. I just want to say a lot more, but it's not really coming to mind. So let's move on to the knights. Knights, obvious, heavy armor. Some of them didn't have heavy armor. Some of them were gamison, I think, or I don't know how to pronounce that word. A lot of more gamisons, which was a cloth material that apparently is actually better than leather, according to a lot of people. I don't know a lot about that stuff, but you know, I'll try to talk about that later. Sorry, I haven't been playing actual stuff, but you know, knights, they had heavy armor. They usually had a helmet on that was full face. Not a lot of them were very fast. They weren't always very fast, and they were always up front all the time. Whoa, what's going on with that? Okay, so, how do I say this? Vikings, Knights, damn it, sorry, I'm losing focus. Vikings were, Knights were some of the biggest historical figures, because of the armor that they had, the way that they fought. They usually fought with honor, like Vikings did. See, they thought if you didn't fight, you were dishonorable. And being dishonorable was a big no-no. Which also ties into the samurai. If you dishonor yourself, you just might as well keel over and die. How that conversation would go. But knights, they're like big honor guys. Well, thinking about it, each one of them is like a big honor character. It's also kind of in the name, for honor, because they all fight for honor. But Knights had their weapons were always sharp. They always took good care of their gear. Okay, they always took good care of their gear. They always had their armor polished and kept well. Stuff like that, you know, just basic stuff. That's like the basic understanding of that kind of stuff. I don't really know much about the Knights other than they kept their armor well. They had good weapons. They were always up front. They were never like guerrilla warfare guys. They couldn't because their armor was kind of too shiny and they'd be seen. But the Knights, obviously, they have the heavy armor. They're slow. They have big weapons, small weapons, medium-sized weapons. Their weapons are always sharp. But the big difference between the Knights' weapons and all the other ones is the Vikings and the Samurai have a curved edge on their sword. Vikings, however, have a flat one. I mean, no. Knights, however, have a flat one. Why do I keep going to Viking? Ugh, my brain. I swear. The Knights have a flat edge. It's not curved. It's not slanted. And that leads to it actually breaking from the impact, or actually wobbling because the swords are actually kind of thin. Whereas the Vikings and the Samurai stuff is thicker and is less likely to wobble, vibrate, or break because of the thickness it has, but they're also lightweight because of the way that they're made. Another advantage to the Knights is chainmail. Chainmail, whatever you want to call it, is one of the Knights' greatest attributes, because chainmail is highly impact resistant because of the chains. It's very heavy though. I've been one of the people I'm going to be moving around. It's actually in another state. I'm actually moving to Kansas. Before I leave, I want to see if I can get together with Boogie 2988 because he lives in Arkansas like me. He lives in Fayetteville. I live in Sheridan. I'm dying a lot. But yeah, he lives in Sheridan. I mean, no, I live in Sheridan. He lives in Fayetteville. That's just a little north to us. I want to see if I can get together with him and do like a video or something. I ain't got a webcam or nothing. He does. But that's like a lot of people mess with him for being big, you know, size-wise. And I think that's just unfair. You shouldn't judge a person by the way he looks on the outside. You should judge him by his character, by his personality. That's just how I think. And from what I see, Boogie is like the biggest loving guy there is. And it is just so unfair, the treatment that he gets. I hate some of the ridicule that he gets, and I get it too because I'm kind of a big guy, not as big as he is, but you know, I'm a pretty decently sized person. And I get made fun of for that. But then again, a lot of people respect me because they know I ain't gonna take too much crap. Just how I am. And we lost. But it's not fair to be ridiculed like that. It's like when I really want to get with him, and I want to do like a talk with him on one of his videos about how unfair this is, because I also have an issue where I pick up my skin. But you know, back to the topic at hand. Knights, chainmail, impact resistant. Arrows don't go through it very often. Kind of stops them half the time. The Knights also had a very, very great arrowhead tip called a bodkin point, or a bodkin tip. It was meant to pierce armor, meaning their own if one tried to defect. If one tried to defect, they would be killed. But yeah, the body pierces any almost any armor. Except for most of the armor today, because most of it's on a vehicle and very thick. But yeah, so that leads to a lot of that. Chainmail. Hey, what the hell? But bodkin tip pierces armor, heavy armor, flat edge swords breaks. What else did the knights have? Hell, I'm not really focused right now. I got a lot of stuff on my mind. Like I said, my girlfriend's not doing so well. She's not handling me moving around very well. I'm not handling it well. We plan on sending each other letters since she don't have a phone, you know, stuff like that. But you know, I mean, everyone has their problems in life. You can't avoid them all. So, I'm sorry, I'm not focused. So, like, I know a lot about these things, but my mind is kind of blank at the moment. So let's move on to Samurai. One I also know very well, so I like the Vikings. Samurai. First thing I'm going to talk about is their swords, obviously. The katana. It had many different variations, but I'm going to stick to like the three main ones that I know. Is the wakizashi, the regular katana, and the dai katana. The wakizashi was basically like a, it's like the Japanese Bowie knife. Not quite a katana, not quite a dagger. It's like right in the middle. Just a little longer, a little shorter than a katana, but a lot longer than a dagger. But so yeah, that the katana, you already know what that is. The dai katana was a two-handed weapon. You didn't hold that thing with one hand ever. If you did, it would lead to a lot of mishaps. Probably a few missing toes or limb. But yeah, and they were very, very sharp. They were always kept sharp. They were forged by hand a lot of the time. Actually, all the time. Actually, now I'm thinking about it. Then again, all the stuff was made by hand back then. What am I doing? But, katanas were very good for slashing because of the curved edge. They were also very good for thrusting because of the point. The point was so, pointed that, a lot of the time that, it would usually go through even the knight's armor. I've seen, a video. If you want to, like, learn about most of the weapons of these times, look up a person on YouTube called Arlie Ermy, or Sergeant Gunnery Sergeant Arlie Ermy, Ronald Lee Ermy, whatever. No, I got shot at. But so yeah, Ronald Lee Ermy is a lot of you will know him from Full Metal Jacket. His work in that. Gunnery Sergeant Hartman. Love that movie. Yeah, you'll know him for that. A lot of people will. But yeah. So, if you want to learn more about the weapons, look at him. But yeah. So, that's where I obtained a lot of my information from this stuff. But a lot of it also came from previous knowledge. Stuff like that, you know. So, I don't really know what to say. Other than, like, they also had their own bow. They also had their own bow variation. They were very good at shooting from horseback, with a bow while riding. Their armor was very unique. I forget what it was made of, but it's like wood and thatch and stuff like that. And it's like woven together in a way that the impact like bounces back off. It's like punching a tank, basically. Their armor was just like that. But oh, one thing about the Vikings, I forgot. The spike on the end of axes. A lot of people don't know this, but the Vikings are actually the ones that came up with that. Toss that over there. But yeah, the Vikings are actually the one that came up with that. Neat little story. It was a chieftain who actually came up with it. He wanted to see. Damn. Okay. He wanted something that could pierce the helmets of the knights because, you know, they fought a lot. So he got to Smithman. I don't know how to pronounce it. Words are like evading me at the moment. I give up. Yeah, I'm just not gonna fight anymore during this. Not on this game, at least. No. So, yeah, but the Viking. So here's a little story. The chieftain had two smiths make two axes with a thing to. Two axes with an end on the opposite side of the blade to help get rid of the. To get through the helmets of the Crusaders or Knights' helmet. One had like a big ball on the end, and the other had the spike. Chieftain took both of the axes and took two helmets. Both of them were set on a melon. Not a watermelon, but a melon. So he took the one with the ball first, and he hit the helmet hard as he could, and it left a pretty big dent, pretty huge dent. And then he set it down, and then he picked up the one with the spike on the end. He pulled it back, and then hit the top of the other helmet, and that spike went right through it into the melon. And then he said, "Keep making these. This works." Another thing the Vikings figured out with their axes was how to pull down the shields. Make the shields unwieldy. With their spears, they could do that with their spears also. But back to samurai. Yeah, but they were also masters of horseback, stuff like that. But I'm running short on time, so I'm just going to go ahead and put out in the scenario. Highlands. Over to the east, you have your Vikings. They're in the woods, hiding out. Samurai up on the hill. With no cover whatsoever. And the knights on the very bottom of that hill. Horses, shields, and they're ready to charge. They don't see the Vikings, and neither does the samurai. Vikings and samurai charge at each other. They pretty much weaken themselves out. And there's just a few remaining. The Vikings charge in and pick off what's left. This surprises this Vikings and the samurai, which catches them off guard, leading to them trying to fight two enemies at once. Samurai being the Vikings and the Knights being the Vikings and the samurai, the Vikings being the Knights and the samurai. But the Vikings have outnumber the knights and the samurai. And with the numbers, they start spreading around, surrounding them, just kind of cutting them down. While each one falls, two more fill in its place. The berserkers are at the back. They push in and they pick off the few hundred that remain, leading the Vikings to victory. That's just my scenario. I watched another person do a video on this. A lot of people don't know him. Matt Pat, game theorist, film theorist, GT Live. And he had a pretty good deal there, but that's not how it go. Doing the history, being the Vikings being in guerrilla warfare. That's not what happened. Even if it was like that. Even if the Vikings and the Knights, the Samurai and the Knights acknowledged the Vikings, they wouldn't see them as a major threat. Because, you know, they got their axe and their little piddly little shield. And they got cloth armor. While the Knights and the Vikings have heavy armor, big shiny swords and shields and stuff like that. So they're going to go at each other thinking, let's take out the big threat first. That way we can pick up the little guys. It's not how that's going to work. Anyways, I'm going to leave this video here and I'm going to try to catch some Z's. See you guys in the next video.